Hey guys, welcome back. So today we want to talk about safety locks for handguns. Now, don't click off the video just yet. It's not going to be boring because I'm going to show you a new device that we're going to try to determine whether or not it's a overpriced gimmick or is it something you may actually find some utility with. But before we get started with talking about that new device that I found, I want to talk about just general safety of handguns and why people would want to lock them up. So we're going to touch upon that in today's video. Then we'll get into the GOSAFE Glock magazine, which I think you guys are going to get a kick out of. And we'll just have a general discussion about, the best possible ways, at least how I view things in my world, for securing that handgun when it's not on your person. So let's get started with today's video talking about firearm safety and handgun locks. We all live in a virtual space. We live online. We enjoy posting online. We like watching videos. We like posting on X. We like reading our emails and sending emails and surfing all sorts of different websites. But the reality is the internet can be a very dangerous place. And that's why today I want to talk about Aura, who is sponsoring today's video. If you want to do something that's kind of scary, Google yourself, Google your name, Google your email address, Google your address, and look at all the information that pops up that's quite public. Now, there's other groups out there that will harvest that information, aggregate that information, and they'll sell it to other people. And this can become a security risk for you. So it would be beneficial to have Aura standing between you and those that would do you harm, that would try to steal your identity, to get loans in your name, take over your bank accounts, get into private things like your email. You need somebody standing watch over you, and Aura does that, and they do it for a very affordable monthly fee. Data brokers will sell your information to scammers, spammers, and anyone else that's going to want to target you. Your full name, email, home address, health records, your relatives, it's all out there, folks. That's why I've been using Aura, the sponsor of today's video, as I had mentioned. Aura will show me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests on my behalf. You can get other features such as antivirus software, VPNs, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more without having to download several different applications. It's really easy to set up, and best of all, I get everything at one affordable price. I value my privacy, and I value your privacy as well. So you really should check out Aura. You can do that by following the link in the video description below, which is aura.com/military arms. So before we get into today's video, folks, we're talking about firearm safety. I want to talk a little bit about Ethan's Law, but we don't do politics here on the Military Arms channel anymore. We have moved all the political discussions over to Second Legacy. I've partnered up with Braden from Langley Outdoor Academy, and we do politics, we do general politics, we do a lot of sarcasm and quite a bit of humor, but we also talk about Ethan's Law and the silliness behind it. But the reason I'm doing today's video is because the federal government is trying to criminalize you if you don't lock your gun up, and say a child gets a hold of it and does something like hurts themselves or hurts somebody else or whatever. Matter of fact, as of this recording, news is just breaking that they just sentenced a mother to prison for facilitating her son in getting a handgun and doing something unspeakable with it. So this trend is going to continue, folks, and the trend is going to be that they're going to come after you if you don't secure your gun and a bad guy or a sibling or something like that gets a hold of it. So this is a relevant discussion because eventually a lot of us could wind up in jail because of the laws they're trying to propose in DC. So what would be the purpose of wanting to lock up your gun? Well, obviously you're trying to keep it from getting into the hands of the wrong people. But most of the gun locks out there are really, really inconvenient. Now, when I was a younger man, I lived alone. I didn't worry about locking my handgun up. When I went to bed, I just took my carry gun off, laid it on the bedstand next to my bed, and that's where I kept it. Didn't have any reason to worry about somebody get a hold of it because nobody had access to my house except for me. Now that I'm married and I have several kids, that calculus has changed. I do have to make sure that my firearms are locked up. And so my personal choice is to use a safe for just a regular old gun safe for the regular guns. But for my carry gun, I have a bedside safe on my nightstand that has a biometric lock and it has a keypad. So if the biometric lock fails, I have the backup of entering a code to get it open. And then I also have the option of using a mechanical or analog key to get into it. So I have 3 different ways to get into it, but the biometric system works on mine. I just put my finger to it, boom, it's open, instant access to a loaded gun, nothing else to worry about. And keep in mind, folks, when somebody comes kicking on your front door trying to break in, comes through a window, or you're startled awake in the middle of the night, you don't have much time to react. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about with the locks that that are commonly used, and why we're going to talk about this GOSAFE lock, and we'll talk about the utility of it. We'll get into that here in a moment. So generally these days, every single handgun you buy will come with a lock in the box, and those locks are going to look something like this. And it's a cable lock that you can insert through the barrel. That's why this is rubberized, so it doesn't damage the barrel. Another way you can use it is to pull the slide to the rear, run this down through the magazine well, up through the chamber area, and then that'll keep you from being able to put a magazine into the gun. As it stands right now, I can still put a magazine into the gun, but I can't load it because the cable will keep a round from going into the chamber. Dealer's choice on how you want to use these particular types of locks. But so you have this laying on your nightstand and somebody comes busting into your house and now you have to ready your weapon. Okay, so if it were me, I would put it through the barrel so I could have a loaded magazine in the gun versus having it through the grip, because that will shorten the amount of time that I would need to get to the gun. But then I have to keep track of these. Now seriously, folks, in the middle of the night in a dark room, under stress, you're in fear of your life, and you're really going to find these little tiny doohickeys, and in the dark, you're going to grab your little key, you're going to stick it in your little lock here and unlock it and pull it free like that. Then lock your slide to the rear, pull your cable out. Now you have your magazine in there. Now you can load the gun and defend yourself. But unfortunately, you're probably already a victim, perhaps dead, handcuffed, hogtied, whatever. It took too long. These, in my opinion, are utterly useless. Now, that's in a self-defense setting. Now, if you're not worried about this gun being used for self-defense, you just simply want to secure it, and you don't have the resources for a safe, you just have the one handgun, you want to keep it in your closet or whatever, it's not for personal defense, you don't carry it every day, well, then this makes a lot of sense. This is cheap, comes in every box with every handgun you buy, and this would work just fine in that scenario. But for self-defense, throw that garbage away. It'll get you killed. All right, so if you don't have a bedside safe, you don't want to use the cable lock for reasons I just cited, maybe the solution to your problem is this doohickey. Doohickey, same thing. Yeah, let's talk about the GOSAFE Glock magazine, soon to be available for Sig Sauer handguns as well. And does this change the calculus in favor of using a lock on a handgun? Does it speed things up? Is it more useful? Will it save your life and keep the bad guys and the kids away from the gun? Let's find out. All right, so we've already established that these are fine for long-term storage, for self-defense storage, trying to access your gun quickly. Forget about it. Throw the things in the trash. Not good for that. So this GOSAFE magazine. I saw this thing on Twitter. Somebody had posted about it, mocking it, and of course that made me go buy one. And I wanted to see what it was all about. Now, this is probably a step above the cable lock, but is it truly any better? And how does it compare to just a bedside safe with a biometric lock on it, or even a push button lock? You have the ones that have the 4 buttons on them. You can easily, quickly enter the code and get the gun out. And with the gun, when it's inside the safe, should be loaded and ready to go. So if I'm going to rate these things, best to worst, bedside safe for self-defense, nothing beats it, right? Even the flimsiest of them will keep kids from getting a hold of them and stuff like that. It's not like a true safe where it'll take a torch and 2 hours to get into it. They're meant to keep people that shouldn't have access to them gaining access to them. They're not true security devices in that you're locking them up so nobody could ever get to them. It's just to keep prying hands and stuff away from them. So that would be my first choice. The cable lock is definitely my last choice. So falling in at number 2, how's this thing work and what is it all about? Glad you asked. So the GOSAFE magazine is made for Glocks. They say that they're going to have them available for Sig Sauer handguns in the near future. And what this allows you to do is to lock your gun's functionality through the lock on the base plate of the magazine. Sounds crazy. I wanted to know how it worked, which is why I spent $99 on this thing. It's not inexpensive. Matter of fact, for $99, you can spend a few bucks more and get that bedside safe I talked about. But anyway, so for $99, I want to see, does this thing really offer anything of use? And is it better than the cable lock? And does it compete with the bedside safe? So unlike the little cable locks that come with the guns that you buy, every handgun's going to have one, the key is definitely much bigger than trying to find and locate and keep track of these little tiny things, which are guaranteed to get lost. This is bigger, okay, cool. It also has a shape to it that allows you to get a good grip on it, but this shape is important to the function of the lock. On it, it has a little serial number, and that serial number allows you to order more keys from GOSAFE, so you can have more than one key. But keep in mind, if you insert this thing into your gun and you lose your key and it's locked, you're not going to be able to use your gun. But hey, Glocks have polymer frames, so with the Dremel tool in a couple minutes, you can just cut your frame open and, you know, get your mag out, I guess, but you destroy the gun in the process. But if you get a SIG magazine in the future, the grip modules are only 35 bucks, so you can just, you know, cut your grip frame up and get your magazine out if you lose your key. Probably better off in a SIG than the Glock. All right, so anyway, back to the GOSAFE. It has this big lock on the bottom. And then you have red for fire, white for safe. And so the key, this little tab, has to align with the current setting of the lock for it to insert and work. You can't just put it any old way in there, which I think you should be able to get it to work. It has to be aligned with the mode. So right now it's in the fire mode. This little thing is retracted, so that tells me visually that it's in fire mode. So if I stick the key in with the hump facing the red dot, it'll go right in and I can turn it to safe, and you'll see this little bar pop out. This little bar is what locks the gun, making it so it cannot fire and you cannot remove the magazine. Okay? But if I take the key out and I put it back down the fire position, I can't turn it. I don't care how much pressure you apply. I can go at it any different direction, but until I actually get it in that one particular position, I can't manipulate the lock. That is a major problem for this. In the dark, in a hurry, under stress, trying to line this up with the dot while you're trying to figure out if somebody's trying to kill you in your bedroom and you're going to have to take your eyes off the threat, look at the lock, insert the key just to make the gun ready. Less than ideal. All right. Now, the polymers and stuff that are used in the construction of this magazine are actually pretty high quality, very dense, heavy polymer. And the base plate, really solid. It looks like it could take some abuse. It's also worth noting that when it's in the fire mode, see, I just put it in the wrong way. When it's in the safe mode, so I turn it to safe, this little thing pops out, and you'll notice there's a little pin that pops out on the backside of the base plate, and that pin has a white ring around it saying it's safe, red danger, white safe. So you have this, when it's in the gun, and I have it on safe, you can see it sticking out back there. If you have it in a holster, you can run your finger across the back of it and you can tell the gun's in safe. So what does that mean? How does this thing work? Once it's in safe, I can't remove the magazine. So, and also the trigger's blocked from functioning. That little bar that sticks out blocks the trigger. So let's take a look at how all this works. All right. Now that I've taken it and put it back into fire mode, now I can drop the magazine out and I can fire the gun. Now, this is something else we noticed. It's kind of weird. So this situation could not really happen. So I fired the gun, right? I've released the striker. It's down. Nothing's in the chamber. If I go to put this on safe, if I turn hard enough, watch the trigger. I can force that trigger back out, which it has to because that bar is like pushing out, trying to get to where it can block the trigger's travel. And in the process, I'm forcing that trigger back forward, but I have not reset the action of the gun. If I put it back on fire, this trigger is just dead. It hasn't engaged with the striker whatsoever. But again, that's not something you could ever find yourself in that situation, because if you pull the trigger and it's down, it's going to go bang if there's a round in the chamber. If there's not, all you have to do is load the gun, which you'd have to do anyway, which would reset everything. So, but I just wanted to point that out. So, on safe, can't remove the magazine, cannot pull the trigger. It loads just like a standard Glock magazine, has metal reinforcements around it. Back here you have the windows, I have the sticker still on the back. So I can put a couple rounds in here, all right? And it doesn't matter if it's on fire or safe, you can still load and unload the magazine. Doesn't affect that. And so I stick the magazine into the gun. It's in fire because, remember, if I have it on safe, this sticks out and I cannot put the magazine in the gun. So to load the weapon, the magazine has to be in the fire mode. Put the magazine into the Glock, Now I take my key. Remember, it's in fire, so I got to put it in the fireway, turn it to the safe, and now the gun is safe. Cannot remove the magazine. Have a loaded magazine in there, and I cannot pull the trigger. But even though the magazine's locked in and the trigger will not function, I can still run the action of the gun and load it. As you can see, I just put it around in the chamber. Okay? So, keep in mind, gun will not fire, right? Only time it's going to fire is if I turn it from safe back to fire. Just go ahead and make sure she's empty. She is. Bang. Now I can fire. What do I think of this thing? Well, it only holds 10 rounds. They do not offer one with 15 or more rounds in the magazine, even though this is a Glock 17 sized magazine. That kind of tells me the people that are making this thing probably aren't exactly strong 2A advocates. They're probably anti-gunners that are trying to capitalize on safety, and that's fine. I'm a capitalist. But 10 rounds? Come on. Seriously, offer it with 10 rounds for the states that require it, but give us a regular capacity magazine. Now, it also could be, I've not tried to take this thing apart, it could be that the lock goes up into the base of the magazine, thus restricting the number of rounds. I honestly don't know. But 10 rounds, that alone would keep me from wanting to buy this magazine. $99 would keep me from wanting to buy this magazine. The fact I have to use a key to unlock this silly thing, the fact I could lose the key, rendering my gun completely useless if I was to carry this gun, and this thing is designed for carry, because that's why you have that little thing back there, so you can feel whether or not it's unsafe or not. Could you imagine drawing your pistol and going, oh, quick, other hand, grab the key, unlock it here, don't rob that bank, and then fumbling around trying to get your gun, and so you can get it, oh, darn it, I got it in the wrong mode. Now I get it into fire. Oh, crud. I'll get it there. Oh, that's right. There we go. Okay, now I got the gun ready to go. Utterly useless. So, just like this, long-term storage, if you want to keep the gun loaded with a loaded magazine in it and lock it, but you don't really want to have quick access to it because it is not going to be quick if you need the gun, yeah, maybe $100 worth of safety. Nope, I would just buy the bedside safe. It's going to be faster, more secure. You're not going to lose the gun. You know exactly where it is, and kids and other people aren't going to be able to get their hands on it. So, yeah, you know what? Let's go shoot the magazine. Let's see if the magazine works well. I've already shot it. It works, but let's go do some shooting with it anyway. So I'm going to reiterate, in my opinion, using this magazine for daily self-defense carry is foolish. It would just be a bad idea. So I have the weapon loaded, okay? And back here it tells me it's unsafe because I got the little doohickey sticking up. All right? And so I can't pull the magazine out and cannot fire the gun. So I draw my weapon. This is a scenario I highly recommend you don't find yourself in. That is using this magazine for self-defense. I draw my weapon, but as Jason pointed out, it's like, oh no, now I gotta like completely break all the rules of safety because now I'm gonna have to fumble around with my gun, get my key out. Okay, it's unsafe. I gotta put it in there the right way. Turn it to fire. All right, now I can shoot my gun. 10 rounds. I will say the magazine is extremely hard to load. That last 9th and 10th round, it's gonna take a little bit of effort. So, as I said earlier, the magazine does work, right? It seems to be a very high quality magazine. It does work just fine. I've never had the gun malfunction with it, locks open, all that good stuff. My only complaint is that I just don't see the utility of this. I don't see a practical use for it, other than, again, long-term storage, which, if that's what you want to do, long-term storage with a handgun that's loaded, it might be an option then, but don't use it for concealed carry. So in case you can't tell by now, I'm not a fan of the GOSAFE magazine. At $100, way too much money. That money's better spent on a biometric safe or just a safe in general that you can easily use, where you can access a loaded firearm much more quickly without fumbling around for keys that you might drop, taking your attention off the threat, trying to focus on the lock, trying to remember which way you need to put the key into the magazine. It's just a bad idea. Now, again, long-term storage, if you want to load your handgun and stick it up on a shelf for 5 years and you want to make it safe, maybe the GOSAFE makes sense in that situation, just as much as the cable lock does. But for me, I have no use for either of these. I use that bedside safe. And if I have a gun on me, I don't have any safeties on it. I don't want any safeties on it. It's safe in a holster. I have control of it, and I don't need a GOSAFE magazine in that situation either. So would I recommend it? No, not really. Go buy yourself a good safe. Now, one thing I think is pretty funny. We did manage to insert both the GOSAFE magazine and lock it in here, so it's locked in place and the gun can't be fired. And I have the cable lock in there. So we'll call this the Davy Hogg Super Safe Special. And it takes 2 keys to unlock it. There you go. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed today's video, taking a look at some of the safety devices that are out there. I do want to say this. There are some biometric handguns that are coming out. It's called the BioSafe handgun or something like that. I do have one on order. I've been waiting for over a year because I want to play with that and see what that's all about. I'm not talking about this stuff because I think you should go out and buy it. I'm talking about it because this stuff is relevant to today's conversation, especially when you have the federal government trying to pass laws mandating things like this. And so I want to take a look at them. If you support us in doing that and you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms Channel, please consider becoming part of our Patreon family. There's a link in the video description below. Also, right here on YouTube, you got the thanks button and the join button underneath the video player you're watching right now. Mash either one of those buttons, or you can help support us right here on YouTube in the age of demonetization. Last but not least, please swing by, check out Copper Custom. Thank you for 16 years of support. We'll talk to you guys soon.